So after kind of that about his approaches to his character, they talk about both of them like discussing like the sacrifices they made in terms of personal relationships with their children that both have discussed at length. That to focus on this industry at their level, it was constant travel, and you had to operate at a level that it requires a lot of selfishness and this does, to me, very much parallel what you hear a lot of fighters. Like, there is a certain selfishness you need in terms of excelling at a high level that is going to be, is going to be detrimental for your personal life. And if you're somebody that has kids, again, that's where this industry today, I think, is a lot better than even 10 years ago, where the road schedule has gone down and you don't have the level of travel. Whereas, these two came up in a time when it was not uncommon to be, seeing your kids very, very little.
I would argue, that could be a requirement of success, and I mean elite level success, top percentile success in any industry, whether it be athletics or business or I don't know, wrestling journalism, like anytime you want to excel above the crowd, I mean, you're going to have to devote a lot more time and a lot more of your attention to that thing. I mean, especially when you're in a performance art that requires travel like professional wrestling does. So, on the one hand, you can deem it as being selfish. On the other hand,
it's the argument that you're out there and you're trying to provide for your family as well, this extravagant living, hopefully. Like, if you're in Austin, it's like, on the one hand, man, I'm missing key parts of my children's lives. At the same time, I am securing a future for them as the number one star in this industry. But it is like, you're away. It's like you're relying on a spouse to be raising your children. You're only going to see them so many times a month. And they also talk about when you get home that, your motor's still going at this speed. It's very hard to just snap your fingers and go into dad mode when you're living this type of lifestyle from city to city, state to state, and it's a never-ending hamster wheel.
Certainly, yeah. Do you think somebody like a Roman Reigns is trying to disprove that you need to make that sacrifice in order to be at the top of this industry? He has negotiated for himself a part-time deal while at the same time holding both major championships. You could definitely still make the argument that he's the main focal point, the main character of the entire company right now. And presumably spending a lot more time at home than, let's say, Steve Austin or The Undertaker did in similar situations.
I think it really is. I'll put it this way. Number one, I think it was a major statement when Roman, during the beginning of the pandemic, said, I'm not coming here. I'm going home. And that was a very big statement. And he did get some pushback from that. I would say today,
he had newborn twins.
He had newborn twins. He was completely justified. But again, it goes to look at the difference in criticism towards Roman today versus Brock of several years ago when he was your champion and was constantly hit with the part-time label. And it's like, you want to get upset at someone, get upset at the company that negotiated this, not the performer that is balancing a healthy work-life balance. And I think it's way more accepted now of a Roman Reigns that feels more special when he shows up. And the company has certainly had no grievance with him not doing all the house shows and not even doing all the TVs, in even all the pay-per-views. That I think like that focus is shifting, and you just don't have the same demands that I think you're having a more kind of a healthier balance from, to me, what was always a untenable schedule for these talents, that it was just comical when you would see these talents that either got released or hurt and they'd get off the road. And it was only then that they were forced to unwind that they realized what a insane schedule that you just get used to, because it's the demands of the job. And then when you get off the road, some that just never want to get back on that again, because it's not until you're done that you realize how insane that schedule is.
Might have been part of the reason why John Cena was really like such an ideal person for the role. Somebody who, doesn't have kids, and from all accounts, doesn't want kids until I mean I'm remembering back to like a Total Bella storyline where
it's a totally relevant point that here was somebody that you could argue like that was almost cast as like the villain in that story with Nikki, but like he made a decision. I am not going to have kids because I am putting everything into this area of my life professionally, that I'm not going to have kids that are not going to have a present father. And I didn't watch the series, so if I'm misremembering this, but that, you know, it just seemed like he had his priority, and having kids was not something that he was willing to take on that responsibility.
I believe he eventually like said that he was open to having children, you know, in an effort to make up with Nikki, and obviously things didn't work out anyway. But you know, it kind of, you know, tells you like, when your mind is set on your career, you know, do you have to make that sacrifice? Is it one or the other? And has Roman Reigns successfully proved that you could have both? You can do both.
Could you imagine flying out once a week, just once a week, like leaving your kid for like 3 days?
No, not at all. Not. I mean,
I couldn't imagine doing it. Like it wasn't until I had kids that I truly had like a different appreciation for these wrestlers, that this is their life.
What if you're making Roman Reigns money?
Like, listen, I really do not believe like there is certainly there is a value you can put on it, and you could certainly justify it. And I say this as someone, like, I grew up, like, my dad worked insane hours. Like, I did not see him a whole lot during the weeks. But it was like, I understood why he worked, and he explained it to me too. But like, it was not uncommon. Like, he would leave at 8 a.m. and I might not see him till 7:30, 8 o'clock at night.
I'll tell you, if I was making a Roman Reigns contract, I think my wife would be pushing me out the door. Okay, I don't think she would let me stay. If I was, you know,
would she also make you wear a mask if you brawled into the crowd?
Was that what happened?
Roman the first time he brawled into the crowd, he put the mask on.
Oh my God.
I thought that was like a really important statement. Like,
definitely.
The Roman Reigns legacy, I think it will age very well over time in terms of this guy going against a norm of this industry in many different ways throughout the pandemic. That was a very responsible, quiet leadership that he kind of exuded during that period.
I kind of feel like it depends on how, like, you will look back on the time of COVID. You know, will you look back? Will somebody look back at it as an overreaction, or will somebody look back as you know, being responsible? Either way, I think he's been very interesting. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's at the top right now, who, you know, understands a lot of the pitfalls of a prior generation. Probably grew up with it in his own family. You know, so he's taken the steps to, you know, make demands so that he can avoid those same things while also maintaining his value as the top star. So it just kind of shows you, you know, maybe the difference between somebody like him and somebody who grew up in an era of a Taker or Steve Austin.
All right. Work-life balance. Let's talk about Bluey. Okay, let's talk about things you missed out on, Mark. I can't say that I was around either, but you tell me. I don't know.
As he uses his hands to talk. Wonderful.
So from there we move on to the streak.